Welcome back. Egypt have announced lifting all COVID-related entry restrictions for all travelers, whether from Egypt or foreigners. Also, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities have launched an initiative during the vacation or the time of the feast or Eid al-Adha in order to boost tourism in Egypt, and especially domestic tourism in Egypt, trying to attract more Egyptians in order to visit touristic sites in Egypt, and also hotels, and also to boost the tourism. Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phono with Dr. Yahia Abdel, Kader, tourism expert. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ms. Amal, and wishing you a happy Eid.
Thank you, sir. Happy Eid to you too and to your family. Well, Dr. Abdel Kader, now an initiative have been launched by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, especially in the time of the feast, in order to encourage Egyptians and encourage domestic tourism in Egypt.
Well, really, annually, the Ministry of Tourism, they have a division, like to plan events, celebrations, and festivals for domestic travel, for special events, and for regional tourism, and for international vacations as well. And these plans, they change, like according to seasonality, types of festivals, like and the length and duration, like of the festival, whether it is 1 day, 1 week. So really extensively they've been doing this, and now the Egyptians, like domestic travel, it has been so successful and enjoyable throughout many seasons and years.
Yes, so Dr. Abdel Kader, there also the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities have announced making some discounts concerning the and half-priced tickets for all the Egyptians visiting archaeological sites and museums in all over Egypt, and especially in Upper Egypt. How do you see the importance of this move?
Well, really, this is very thoughtful of the Ministry of Tourism, like and other interested parties, because Egyptian families, they love to enjoy their vacations, like especially when you have like two major feasts, like in Egypt, like the one after Ramadan and the Eid al-Adha. And Egyptian families, like they have like 3-4 days. So they like to travel, they like to go to museums, they like to go to attractions, and they enjoy, like the variety of food and Egyptian cuisine and recreation facilities for children, They go to zoos, they go to concerts, like they have a festive mood. And Egypt is not only for Egyptians, because we have, like Middle Eastern and Gulf states and Arabs, they love to spend their vacations, like especially in these, like feasts that the whole Arab world is celebrating.
Yes. Now the news came in the fourth day, or today morning, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities announced that a large number of Egyptians, and there was a flow of Egyptians visiting the National Museum for Egyptian Civilization. How do you see this?
Well, actually, the Fustat Museum for Civilization, really, it is so sophisticated and, like so new in its development and creativity. And not only Egyptians, but visitors worldwide, they line up to visit the museum. I've been there many times, and so creative. It has been developed with the help, like of the UNESCO Culture Scientific Organization. So it's a major attraction, like that displays the development of Egyptian civilization from prehistoric times up to contemporary history. So this is like a period of 7,000 to 8,000 years, like extensively. So It's so enjoyable, and I've seen schools and visitors and delegations, like around the clock coming to visit this beautiful museum with its attraction. The whole area of Ain Sira and Fustat has been developed, like from neglected area also a first-class destination that we love to visit and spend long hours touring its facilities and attractions.
Yes, Dr. Abdel Qadir, especially during the time of the feast, there was a large number of Egyptians visiting the National Museum for Egyptian Civilization. Can we say that this goes back, that this museum gathers all the history of the civilization and the way people were dressed, the way people used to eat, everything about the civilization?
Well, really, like I've been there even before the opening, like 3 years ago, with Nile TV, of course. Yeah. And really, it has a display, and showcase the development of civilization in the land of Egypt. It's from prehistoric, before we have the recorded history of the Old Kingdom to medium to New Kingdom as well, for over 30 dynasties. And then we move to, Greco-Roman period, we move to Byzantine, Coptic, we move to Egyptian, and then we move to contemporary. So you spend 3-4 hours over there, and that displays, a whole scroll of history, of 7,000 years, as well as we remember on April 3rd, the great spectacle, and the sophisticated display when we moved the Royal Mummies Parade, from the Tahrir Square up to Fustat Museum for Civilization. And when we have, a dedicated, chamber for the mummies of the great kings and queens of Egypt, and really thousands and visitors, they line up to, to visit this very dedicated room to the specific history of ancient Egypt. Yes.
Yes. Also, during the days of the feast, many Egyptians like to visit the pyramids and the Sphinx.
Yeah, this is typical, like vacations, yes. Like year-round, the pyramid areas, and some families, they like to go to the zoo, like when they have a large number of children, because they like to spend quality time with the families, like feasting and recreating and, doing games and amusement. And of course, a large number of Egyptian families, they like to go in the vicinity of the Giza Plateau. And shortly, inshallah, the Grand Egyptian Museum will open its door. So we'll have more attractions for 30 million, visitors who live in Cairo. And then we have the visitors who come from the governorates. And then we have regional and international visitors as well. This is going to be a great spectacle for Egypt when we open shortly, inshallah, next November, the Grand Egyptian Museum, yes.
Yes, Dr. Abdel Qadir, what are the most important new places that were added to the map of the domestic tourism in Egypt?
Well, we have, there have been the new development of new hotels and resorts, in Marsa Alam and Alamein.
Yes.
In Ain Sokhna and Galala. I've been there, and of course there are luxury hotels that open its doors, in the administrative capital. So we added, to our capacity of hotel rooms and accommodation, first-class hotels nationwide in October, in Luxor, in Marsa Matruh. All over Egypt now we have more rooms. And then we have the museums, the ones that have been recently opened in Kader, which is privately managed. We have, museums in Luxor, in Minya, in Kafr Sheikh. The current renovation of the Greco-Roman Museum in Alexandria is going to open within 2 months. And then we have the celebrations of the King Tut Centennial. Yes. It's going to be on November 4th, inshallah.
Yes.
So all these developments, and we have, the Royal Carriages Museum and Bulaq Abu al-Aila, so we are proud of our history and our artifacts and antiquities that, the whole world like to travel to Egypt and enjoy its splendor and quality.
Yes, Dr. Abdel Qadir, so you were now speaking about the most of the museums in several governorates that were recently opened or inaugurated in the past year, and there were some museums who were restored once again, and there was renovation work in these museums. So how do you see the distribution of these museums all around Egypt and in all governorates?
Yeah, really, it's an extended, display and distribution of museums over our 27 governorates that stretch from Sinai to Matruh to, Red Sea region, Luxor, Aswan, and Abu Simbel, and Oasis in Tiwa. So all over now we have, institutions for culture, tourism, and, we have workshops, we have artisans, and look at the Fustat, where we have the artisans, to do the ceramics and the glass and the woodwork, and the jewelry. So all this adds to the national identity and gives, craftsmen, opportunity to develop, their skills, which really is part of the intangible heritage of tourism that people like to come and travel and own. So they keep this, souvenirs when they go to their homes. So most museums now in Cairo are closely related. They have locations to teach, kids and children about Egyptian civilization. They teach adults, about the pharaonic civilization and ancient Egyptian. And then they teach them, the workshops, how to do the artisans, handmade, crafts and souvenirs. So the museums is not only a place for, history and archaeology, it's playing a very effective and integral role in the lives of daily Egyptians.
Yes, yes. So, Dr. Abdel Kader, now you've just mentioned also, as we were speaking about the museums in several governorates. So there was also a museum that was inaugurated recently last year, which is the Museum of Sharm el-Sheikh. And this brings us to this amazing and this beautiful city of Sharm el-Sheikh and the beach tourism in Egypt. And this city now has the beach tourism, and at the same time there is a museum there, which is the Museum of Sharm el-Sheikh. If you would like to comment on this.
Well, really, Sharm el-Sheikh is becoming, over a long time, one of the top resorts and beaches, worldwide. It's an annual, year-round resort. It's not only seasonal, for winter or for spring, whatever. I've been there, year-round, and it's so jammed with visitors. And currently we receive, hundreds of flights to Sharm el-Sheikh, Kader, Marsa Alam, and Marsa Matruh. Yes. So we receive weekly over 50,000 visitors who come to Egypt, and enjoy its attraction.
Yes.
And remember, next November, inshallah, we're going to have the climate change,
of course,
COP27 conference. And it's going to be over 10 to 15,000 visitors, and the whole city will be overbooked for a whole month.
Yes.
So this is a great event that will show to the whole world how Egypt, is capable of managing great events, conferences, and environmentalists and politicians and professionals and media worldwide will be over there because, our planet, currently is threatened from time to time by drought or by floods or by brush fires. So it's about time that we sit and think about how to control, the planet, and this is going to be throughout the Sharm el-Sheikh, climate change conference, inshallah.
Yes, also the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities have announced priced tickets for Egyptians visiting archaeological sites and also for booking in hotels in Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh and Marsa Alam. I thank you very much for your valuable information. Thank you for your time, Dr. Yahia Abdel, tourism expert. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break and I'm going to be back with you.